podcast going and Facebook going, and we'll get started. Please, yeah. Let's see. Alrighty. All right, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao. Namaste. Osaya Anikitu. Uya. Ohio. I see you. Habarigani. Manut. Kamsa. Kamsamida. Akwa Aba. Itese. Jambo, maybe Kofi ni nefra kukutana na wewe. Bakwa tav. Shalom Yisrael, Kwam Yisrael, Teda. Ahe at Zion. And I Kofi, head of the Servants of Christ. Mashalam Hey. Hello, everybody. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Appreciative for another opportunity to come before you one more again to have a message. I will not have as much time as I normally would because we have to get ready to get on the road, and been traveling again. We took the beginning of the year off, and it seems like we've been right back in it, getting closer to hitting goals that we've been working on for a couple years. So I've been excited. So the work has been necessary, but I will be excited. Get a little bit of rest here and there from time to time. It is what it is, though. And we're thankful and grateful to everybody we're seeing, everybody we're meeting, everybody who's spending time with us. We really, really do appreciate your presence so very much. And we're thankful, grateful, and honored to be before you one more again. We once again give all praise and honor to the Most High, Yahweh Elohim. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And we're thankful and grateful for everything that she does, and you guys who support her in her endeavor to ensure that the diaspora remains healthy. Real quick before we get started, if you want to kind of view, if you're able to at this moment in time, if you're with us on the podcast, you can't really see, but on Facebook, YouTube, it's been a blessing to be here for the last couple days and be able to be on some nice Anakitawaya land, or some of you would even call it Cherokee land, which it is, kind of, sort of. But grateful and thankful to you all, and you all spending some time with us. And we appreciate your presence today. As a reminder, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday. And thank you, everybody who came from Thursday Rising Prayer. Not today, but the following Thursday. Those of you who are part of our, I apologize. Those of you who are a part of our, Feast of Tabernacles committee, we're going to be meeting up again, so we can make sure we start getting into some things, getting into it and everything. If you need help with that stuff, by the way, if you're somebody who's planning on joining us, let us know. We'll also start trying to work out some of the stuff that we'll have available for those who might want to participate on Zoom. We'll try to have some of that stuff worked out for you guys very soon. We do have information in the chat if you'd like to be able to fill out a form to let us know you're coming or you're interested. Also, too, if you're on YouTube, or if you even go on, it's not uploaded yet. The class information for the third semester is uploaded on the website. The information to fill out for the classes is not on the website yet. It will be. However, we did send out a mass email. So if you missed that email, let us know. I will try to also put that on our WhatsApp information as well. And we thank you guys so much. So that'll be out there. But this Saturday in particular coming up, we have our Shabbat service. We'll have our Shabbat Bit Safer for the children. We will at 12:30 p.m. Eastern New York time have our group meeting, Ministers in Training. We will do our training at 5 p.m. Eastern New York time. We did it at 6 p.m. for a specific reason last time. We will be at 5 p.m. Eastern New York time. And at 7 p.m. Eastern New York time, we will be having our women's meeting. I won't be part of it, but you, the sisters, will be having their women's meeting. Praise Yah. Okay, so just want to kind of put that stuff out there. Some of the stuff is on YouTube as well in the description. We were at least able to put the class information. So if you want to sign up there, you can. But if you give us sometime during the day today, you'll see that you can go online and fill out the class information. We'll also make sure that so much stuff going on. Feast of Tabernacles information will be updated slightly, a little bit more on there for you all as well. Okay. So take some time out, look for those things. We appreciate you. All right, let's get into this message. And hopefully everybody got it on all the platforms. Let's get into this message and spend some time seeing what God has for us today. I really am appreciative personally, if I can say this message. Preachers say this all the time. It's got to hit you first before it hits everybody else. And in studying for this and seeing what Yah has in the message for today, it really bless my soul and where we're headed to. So I'm excited about this. Let's go ahead and get into this and share it with you. I'll probably be done today about 10 p.m. Eastern New York time or so we don't have as much time as we normally would. We're going to treat this almost like a Saturday message before we get ready to go. It'll be about that time frame. But thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who was on Thursday Rising Prayer. Thank you for your testimonies. Awesome, outstanding as always. Thank you, Minister Anais, for leading us in that regard. And ministerial staff, we're changing some stuff up to make sure that we will be on track for our Sunday prayer. I've been the reason that it hasn't happened, and sometimes just because I've been too tired, overbooked, whatever, have had energy issues. So we're making sure that we have something that somebody else can be in control of. So we'll have some information. The link might change or whatever, but we will, whether I'm there to start it or not, we will be there on Sunday. Okay, just putting a little something out there for you guys as well. Also, to ministerial staff, we will be trying to make sure that we do our best to give you guys assignments, or at least call you up, text you to see if we can get some assignments done until we have our next meeting. Okay. All right. Amen. Praise y'all. All righty. Let's go ahead and get into this. Before we get into this word today, let me say hello to everybody real quick. How are you doing? El Shaddai, I guess, Emmanuel. How you doing, DeMarcus? How you doing, Carla? How you doing, Stephen? MIT Stephen, excuse me. How are we doing, Sister Monica? Sister Azariah, excuse me. I can talk today. Azariah Yahoo. How you doing, user 4013192? How you doing, Ramak? How you doing, Cheryl? How are we doing? Charles, how you doing? Yosef, how you doing? Money Green, Minister Tamara, Darius, Sister Deborah, MIT Jenny, Cecil, thanks for being part of the community. Sister Sherry, Michael, everybody, how you doing? Ross King, Boogie, all right. Thank you for joining us. How you doing, Sister Judith, Taylor, Manika, Sweet Honey, Brother Jermaine, MIT Tracy, Brad, everybody, Lottie Diane, everybody. If you're joining us on the if you're joining us on the podcast, if you're going to join us later on Facebook, if you're joining us on YouTube, if you're joining us on TikTok, we are very appreciative for you joining us one more again. Alrighty, how you doing, Infinitely Me? How you doing, Heem? Alrighty, so today I want to talk about surface level. We can just make it pretty clear, pretty easy. I was trying to figure out some very grandiose title or motif or theme. Thank you for the love, appreciate it. And how you doing, Mrs. Wealth? I was trying to find some really grandiose theme and all this stuff, and really just surface level. That's what we're going to talk about today, surface level. We're not going to be surface level. We're not going to keep it simple, right? But we're going to talk about surface level. Something that was introduced to me, we were out and we were blessed. We were kayaking out here, and my son, has this affinity for kayaking. His born day this year, he got to go kayaking for the first time and by himself, and so he really likes it now. So when we get a chance, it's actually something that's not that expensive. A lot of places, believe it or not, you can go and you can do it for free. So we were able to find a nice little spot in our travel and in our journeys. How you doing, Leo? Is it Leocio? I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but thank you for being on. And we were, out yesterday, and Yah started showing me some stuff about the surface level and then about the deep. How you doing, Black Steel? How you doing, Charlotte? Charlotte, how you doing? See, a lot of people live on the surface and never go into the deep. And somebody would say, well, you sound like a motivational speaker. You haven't said anything so far that I have not heard of. And I would agree with you, except what I mean by this and what was revealed to me is that many people eat on the surface. Matter of fact, there are many fishermen who can feed their families and eat and never learn how to swim. Catch what I'm saying? There are many people who live on the surface, and they live very well on the surface. They live very well off of the surface, right? And so as long as they can get things to come out of the deep, they have no problem ever learning how to go into the deep. There are many people that can be on a boat and go fishing, and they never learn how to scuba dive. How you doing, King? right? There, believe it or not, when I was in the United States military and when I was in the Navy, when I went in, I was surprised at the amount of people, black or white, right, that joined the United States Navy and never know how to swim before they join. And so they have to take a lot of time making sure that people, a lot of time, relatively speaking, making sure that people learn how to swim because you're going to be on a ship more than likely. There are very few people that will spend their whole time in the United States Navy and never swim, right? But you can get in on a surface level. Now they're supposed to train you on how to go deep if necessary, but you can get in on a surface level. There are many people who would try to join the SEALs and don't take it very seriously, and that you need to learn how to swim. And so it could be the thing that causes you the issue because sleep deprivation and water being a big part of your life and having to literally do things underwater is going to be a huge deal with you because a lot of times you're going to be put somewhere offshore, have to find your way from miles outside of shore sometimes even, right? Not necessarily miles, but let's say half a mile, something like that a lot of times, at least, but sometimes even miles offshore to be able to get to your next destination. Yeah, people will get mad at you, yep, for not being on the surface. Because you can eat on the surface. You can take care of your family on the surface. And many people do that. Many people get a 9 to 5. They eat on the surface. How you doing, Sister Juanetta? They do very well for themselves on the surface. Many preachers can preach many sermons and never change people's lives, but get people happy. And people will show up gladly to make sure that they help to build these grand edifices that are supposed to be monuments unto the Most High, while they are ever learning. This is 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 7, right? So they are ever learning, never coming into the knowledge of truth. But their surfaces, they're great on the surface. How you doing, Sister Sage? How you doing, Sister Sharice? Praise Yah. Right? Hopefully all is doing well with your health and everything. Praise God. How you doing, Royal? There are many people who learn how to live on the surface. They're great on the surface, right? You can canoe on the surface. You can kayak on the surface. You can fish on the surface. You can go on speedboats on the surface. Matter of fact, there are people who have life vests because they don't ever learn how to swim. And really you should probably have one anyways, but this for educational purposes only. Hopefully you get the context. How you doing, Minister Samaya LeRae? Praying for you. Hopefully all is well, right? Many people get something on the surface and they are comfortable staying on the surface, right? And I'm not mad at somebody who's decided to stay on the surface. Many people, once again, do well on the surface. But see, this is one of the issues that we have, is because it starts to affect you in different ways. Because if you live your everyday life on the surface, I promise you your relationships are surface level. Oh, children running around. Praise God. I promise you. How you doing, Sister Beverly? I promise you that there are many people who live on the surface. And if you live your everyday experience on the surface, I promise you your relationships are on the surface. If one will not learn how to swim, right? If one will not learn how to dive deep, if one will not learn how to be in the sub, right, so to speak, in life, then they live on the surface. I'm trying to tell you that a lot of people are excellent at the surface. How you doing, Nicole? You can fish for facts, right? Matter of fact, you can fish from the edge. You don't even have to go over the water. You can you can fly fish, right? You can have different techniques. You can simply put it in there. You can put poles that just sit on the top of piers and never once ever have to think about that you should be familiar with what it is that you're eating out of. How you doing, Sister Renee? Praise God for you, and prayerfully everything went well and you guys got back safe and all that great stuff. See, a lot of people are very surface level and they don't want to participate in anything that causes them to have to go in deep. How you doing, Brother Keith? There are some people that don't want to participate in going in anything that causes them to have to go deep. And there's different reasons that are usually surface level reasons. Right? Can we keep it a buck? Can we keep it honest? Can we keep it real? There are many people, there are many people who don't want to go into the deep because I might get my hair wet. I just got my hair done. I'm not trying to really experience this stuff. You would think some of it would be because they're scared. Now maybe they're using that as an excuse, but you'd find some weird. There's some people that, hey, because I don't have a six pack, I don't want to really get in the water like that, because in order to do some of this stuff, I got to show that I got some belly fat. I'm used to just wearing a loose shirt. you'll find that people who will not go into the deep will find surface level reasons not to go in. Maybe if we could make it more something that's along somebody's speed, you might find that there are people who will not give an in-depth word because they'd have to tell you a little bit more about themselves. Shalom, Ryan. How you doing? Come on, somebody, right? I might have to tell you a little bit about myself, and rather than tell you about myself, I'd rather just go ahead and sit back and stand back and go ahead. I'll talk about you. I'll talk about the president. I'll talk about white folk. I'll talk about black folk. I'll talk about men. I'll talk about women. I'll talk about the patriarchy. But if you talk about what I'm supposed to be doing, I'd rather just go ahead and stay on the surface because I know that what it takes to go deep, or at least I'm aware it takes more than what I'm doing right now. And many people live on the surface. As we were going around, as we were kayaking and stuff yesterday, and I was going to different places, you would discover that, you know, um, there's alligators and different things like that around here. Praise God, they're not really close to us, but I'm somebody that I don't go up to them, but I go close enough where I can see them from a distance. And some of the places that we went, because this is pretty vast, and some of the places that we went or whatever, though, it's not just the alligators you have to worry about, because the alligators, believe it or not, they don't really go deep. So for the most part, if I even saw something that might even resemble one, if I got too close to an area I wasn't supposed to go to, it's easy for me to go ahead, just turn around, paddle back, and and I can actually, believe it or not, you can actually, if you know what you're doing, you might not be faster, but you fast enough that they won't be able to catch you. Um, right. So I wasn't really as concerned about those things, but what you realize is as you're in there are big fish that might not be able to be big enough to eat you, but the danger big enough to try and pull somebody down. How you doing, Natata? Right. And how you doing, Brother Henry? Right. And so I realized as I was going around that even though we were having fun on the surface, I had to always be aware of what was going on in the deep. So I had to always look for bubbles and certain types of bubbles, right? Even on the surface, I had to be aware of what was going on in the deep, especially when we started going into some of the further places. Now, when we say we is relative, I was going to some of these places because my son is not going to go to some of those places that might have danger, right? When we were coming up in this area, they said, warning, there might be bears here. So had to have a mindset of that, before we got to a certain spot. We had to be careful where we're getting out, where we're getting gas, where we're doing this, where we're doing that. Oh, you said when you went snorkeling in Hawaii, you're scared, big fish, you're still scared. Yeah, Hawaii was, what's funny about Hawaii? When I went to Hawaii, when I was stationed in Pearl Harbor, we were on the island of Oahu, the third island, or the third biggest island. And I got a chance to go after I got there pretty much during winter break. So everybody was gone. Everybody was traveling. And basically we were, there was maybe 10 of us and the command still there. So you basically show up for muster and then we just roll out. And I immediately wanted to go to the Kanaohi side. I hope I'm saying that kind of close, right? I'm been a while since I've been having to pronounce these words, but the Kanaohi side, that's the military, or that's the Marine Corps side, and so I wanted to go over there, and you go through this tunnel. You go through this tunnel. And how you doing, Sister Toya? I'm outside. That's where I'm at right now. How you doing, Sister Mignon? How you doing, Big Brother Thomas? How you doing, Sister Deja? Sorry, I missed a bunch of y'all coming on. How you doing, user 426037113, etc. Right? You said no Facebook. We'll be on Facebook in a little bit. I start the podcast first, and then I switch over to Facebook. So Facebook will be up in just a little bit. So, but thank you for wanting to share. I appreciate it. So anyways, we go through this tunnel over there. How you doing, Brother Anthony? And you start on, and it's really only 3 highways. You got highway 1, 2, and 3. So I forget which one. I want to say it was highway 3. I can't remember. It's been a while, but you go through the tunnel. And when you come out the other side, it was like a video. It was like how you doing, MIT Jelani? It was like it was it was like a movie. You came out, how like cartoons, and you feel like you hear the birds singing to you and the dolphins are jumping and stuff, and there's a rainbow there. Like that's what it was. Like I came out the other side and I was amazed and I was so excited. And you forget that there's wildlife. So I'm in a little truck. I've learned how to for the first time in my life. Back then, I've learned how to do stick shift. Somebody gave me a little beat up truck that they had, and was like, because my car hadn't came over yet, and so they were like, you need a vehicle to get from point A to point B. So I'm all excited about that too. Got the babies in the back. Right, not by themselves, but in the back. Like, but we going as a family, and we're so excited. We get over there. How you doing, Renaissance? And I'm waiting for the family. They're not trying to come. They're not getting out fast enough. So I'm just like, you know what? Love all y'all that came over with us and everything, but you know what? I got to experience this. Y'all taking too long, so I make a beeline to the water. Right, and I make a beeline to the water. I'm running and running. I'm running through the sand, and I'm excited. I jump in the water and I dive. Right, I get ready to dive in on the beach. My hands come together. I put my head down. I'm straight, and as soon as my body is about parallel to the water, my finger hits something. And I don't know how I did it, but somehow in midair, I stopped everything I was doing and I landed and ran right back out the water. Now, it was only, and I say only, right? But it wasn't anything crucial. It was sea turtles, right? Who were coming in to start to, or were getting ready for the nighttime. They were going to come on land while we were there, but they were getting ready for the darkest of night so they could come on out there and start bearing their eggs. Right? How you doing, Marlon? And but there were plenty of them. The children were trying to swim with them. We had to remind them that it's against the law, like you can't be touching on them and doing stuff like that. But there was these huge sea turtles, huge, and just starting to line up and getting ready to come. And that was my first experience with Hawaii. And I say all that to say, once again, surface level. I was running in. I was excited to get in the water. I was excited for what was there. I was excited for what everybody told me that Hawaii was supposed to be. I was so excited, but I didn't. I forgot. If you're not careful, you can be so excited to get into the water because you live surface level so much and forget that there's wildlife out there. I had just forgotten I had seen dolphins out there. Also, too, if you live there long enough, you know there's sharks, and if there's dolphins, there's probably sharks that be around sometimes. Now, dolphins and sharks don't get along, but I'm just saying if a dolphin can be out there, a shark can be out there. Whales come around there, all types of stuff. But I was so excited because I was in Hawaii. I was going to see pure water, right? If I be honest with you, up until my travels, I really had never gone to actual beaches that you could see through the bottom of the water and all that. I've been to places like Virginia Beach, Ocean City. That was the extent of my beaches. I've been to Cali, but I've been a little child or a little baby even. And I think there's a possibility I would have gone to Jamaica, but don't remember it at all. So up until my travels, I never really had experienced anything like that. So I was just so excited to go to these beaches that they tell me are the oldest beaches alive. Like, I've had a chance to go to Florida, so where they have some of the oldest beaches that are supposed to be in existence. I've had a chance to go to Hawaii. You get a chance to like go to places like Japan, go to West Africa, a couple different places, right? But before that, before my travels, I had never really, as a child, my family had been, I had family members who lived there, but I had never had a chance to experience it for myself. How you doing, Sister Patricia? And so as I ran in, I didn't think twice about, hey, did you even look to see if there were fins? Did you look to see if there was a warning? Did you look to see if the locals were getting in the water? Because that's something else too. See, surface level mentality. The locals, the people who are about the culture, the people who actually are there, are from there, and who it actually really is their land, although there's other people who are trying to call it their land. If they don't get in, you don't get in. you know? What you say, Cali beaches are trash now? Hawaii, Florida, Puerto Rico are better than Cali. Yeah, I haven't really been on yeah, I've been on a beach in Cali, but it's been a long time, right? But I'm just saying, you would be surprised at how many people only think on the surface. And if you're not careful, you can be excited on the surface and not realize that you will not survive in the deep. Oh, come on, somebody. Somebody doesn't like that, but that's real. That's a word for somebody. Praise God. That's a word. And you can be excited on the surface, and you can really want to go into the water and never think about what's in the deep. Matter of fact, the beach is a different experience in the rising, at noon, in the afternoon, and in the evening. When the tide comes in, other stuff comes in too. And there are certain predators in the water, in the deep, that come during the day at certain times, depending on where you are, because they know that what they're hunting for is in certain times. Matter of fact, there are certain predators that you might work with. Believe it or not, there are dolphins and humans in certain places that work together, because both the humans and the dolphins realize that whether you're on the surface or whether you're in the deep, you can work together on some things to ensure that you're both going to eat. So they'll put their differences aside, including even their differences as a species, to be in tune to ensure that both are going to eat together. And thanks for being part of the community, True. See, so when we're speaking on these things, we're looking at these things, where we're having these experiences, and you're talking about a lot of stuff. A lot of people are only focusing on what's coming up on the surface level, and people don't realize how dangerous it is. We now have generations of preachers. It used to be a generation or so, but now we have generations of preachers and teachers and motivational speakers who have only lived on the surface level and get upset with you now when you try to go into the deep. And if you're going to break that cycle, you're going to have to realize that going into the deep is a different experience. And a lot of people are not trained, and they're scared, and they make fun of anybody that goes into the deep. Salah. Pause and think about that, right? You must realize that if you're going to go into the deep, there are a lot of people who have already decided that you are crazy for daring to have depth in your life. You need to prepare yourself. Just the way we were talking about, where a lot of people said they want to be Navy SEALs and stuff and couldn't even swim when we went to boot camp. You better make sure that you are ready to go into the deep. Because if you're not ready to go into the deep, you're not even ready for the training. If you're going to be, some of you are talking about, I want to be on the front line. I want to be the person that y'all trust. I want to be the person to go into a place that nobody else is qualified to go into. Okay, well, before you can do that, you have to have deep training. Can I tell you one of the things that really showed its face to me? That really showed its face to me when we're talking about surface level in fighting. In fighting, it's really easy to see a lot of people aren't ready for a fight. Like, a lot of people talk trash, and I'm not saying a lot of people are not brave. I'm not saying you're not courageous. I'm just being honest with you. A lot of you all are not as ready as you think when it comes to a fight. Everybody swears that they're ready to fight, and they'll start fighting. You know what happens when people start fighting? What do you think is the first thing that somebody who knows how to fight realizes about somebody? I'm talking about once the fight starts. What's one of the first things that you think that if you've been trained to fight? I'm talking about if you've been trained. I'm not talking about, oh, I grew up in the street. About maybe you were, right? Maybe that's your training, and you could probably knock somebody out. That's not what I'm talking about. How you doing, Yasalma? Right. But what I'm saying is, if you've been trained to fight, you get in the ring, you get in the cage, you get in the altercation, whatever it is with somebody. What do you think is going to be one of the first things that somebody who knows how to fight is going to look at when it comes to the person that doesn't know how to fight? Yeah, people who know how to fight, they try their best not to fight, right? Because fighting's not cool, and you don't want to necessarily hurt somebody, right? That's one of the things, if you're trained to fight, they are very particular in. But one of the first things that you realize, right? I want you to take a guess. Maybe you're not a fighter. The stance, true that, but there's something else, right? The stance. So you can see if somebody's stance is all right, if they bent down, if their legs are too straight, if they're slow, if they're not moving, but they slow, doing something. Now that could mean that they trying to get you in. One of the first things that you realize in the fight is this. You'll see a bunch of people who want to fight, and they just start swinging. You can tell if they have no discipline. They're just off the rip. I know this is Tori. Off the rip, just right. Even if they can fight a little bit, even if they got some form or whatever, right? But they just start going and going and going and going. And you just do this. You just got your guard up. You just doing what you need to do. And you just sitting there going, okay, you know, you're angry. You know how to get angry. You're bold. but you're not ready for this because you don't even realize that there's more to this than that. Matter of fact, here's something that you learn when you learn how to fight. Whether you're talking about when I wasn't in the Marine Corps, but was trained by Marine Corps and even some Marine Corps reconnaissance as far as hand-to-hand combat, or whether you're talking about cage fighting training, whether you're talking about kung fu, whether you're talking about, well, karate is a little different. They don't teach you this. Whether you're talking about judo, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, etc., right? Even a little bit of Wing Chun, even though they don't teach you some of this stuff as well. You know that if you get in a fight with somebody, if you're not somebody who's like really, really great at certain things and technique, fight is going to go to the ground. You know, so there's a couple things I'm looking at to where I'm like, this person, number one, just swinging, and then number two, don't realize if I get this person to the ground, I don't even think this person is ready. I don't even think they have it in their mind that this thing could get deep real fast. How you doing, brother Vincent? Like, I don't think this person knows, or even like when we were trained by recon, right? I wasn't recon, trained by recon. Okay, making that clear. I'm not doing stolen valor there. All right, and basically, some of the stuff that they do is cause you to go to the ground first, and they tell you a couple things, and then even though they're not gonna hurt you, they start wailing on you for real. They start coming down with blows, and they need you to at least see it first. How do you react to being on your back? You said your ground game is impeccable. Hey, praise Yah. Right? Like if somebody punches you, do you have the ability to move your head slightly? If they're coming down, do you know how to make sure you take an arm to the angle and at least you got control of an arm? Or are you willing to see, watch this? If you're in a fight with somebody on the ground, are you willing to grab their head and bring them in closer? Because once you have control of their head, you bring them in closer. They can still swing a little bit on the side and do some damage, but it's not going to be what it was if they just sitting up there, you know, taking you in, right? So are you in a position, even on the ground? Do you have your senses about you? A lot of people, when it starts getting deep, they lose their senses. Yeah, wrestling and grappling are very important. And I'm not even a great wrestler, I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Never really got schooled in wrestling, right? I can grapple, I can do some jitsu, but I'm not great in grappling. I mean, I'm sorry, wrestling. I'll just be honest with you, right? I know how to keep my balance so that I don't just get flipped because of jujitsu, but I'm not great with wrestling. But somebody who, that's why some of your greatest MMA champs are usually going to have some kind of wrestling background. Even ones that you don't think are wrestlers are wrestlers. Even ones you don't think are great in jujitsu are great in jujitsu because at some point you either have to be ready to go to the ground or ready to stop somebody from taking you to the ground. How you doing, Sister Iska? And thank you everybody who was on yesterday, all the children that came on for Kung Fu. As a reminder, Saturdays, I know we're getting back into school, so some people are going back to school if you're not doing homeschooling. But we're going to keep the same schedule. Saturdays and I believe my wife is starting to record some of them. Then it's only recorded on Zoom, by the way, so there's no other place anybody can find it. If you want to get a link, if you're a child, and once again, that means if we've seen your child's face pop up on there, you got to make sure we see your child. But if we've seen your child on the classes, we don't mind giving recordings and stuff. But and a lot of it you only see Solomon anyways. But yeah, so Saturdays is still 11 a.m. Eastern New York time for Shabbat school. Mondays is still 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time for French class. And Wednesdays is still 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time for Solomon's Kung Fu Club, just as a reminder. Okay. But a lot of people they don't have discipline. They don't recognize what's going on. And therefore, since they're just kind of swinging. And so you can tell real quick, oh, this person doesn't know how, even if they're doing some stuff that's hurting a little bit, you realize if I have the ability to be able to let somebody just swing away, at some point they're gonna be tired. Even if I'm on the ground, keep swinging because you're not doing any damage. Right? American boxing, sure, oh, any of it. So when I get into position, even street fighting, whatever it is, I'm just saying you'll find that somebody who just swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging and moving and moving and moving after a certain point in time, especially if they have no discipline or they have no mindset, they have no vision for it. It's only a matter of time before you're gonna lose, or at least you're gonna lose your energy. Now, since we have people of different ages that watch this, let me just go ahead and make it a point to say that we don't believe that you should just be fighting for the sake of fighting. All right, can I say that real quick? Amen. Praise Yah. Hallelujah. Right? We're not out here telling you just fight just because. Just fight just because. We're not doing that. Okay. This is for educational purposes only. Hopefully, you get the context. Okay. All right, just want to say that because we have people of different ages watching. I'm not trying to hear our babies out here fighting anybody. This is recorded now. All right, this is recorded now. Okay, or conditioning, sure, but even somebody who has conditioning but just fighting, just swinging for the sake of swinging, doesn't make sense. So, surface level. Back to surface level, right? Before I get into some other stuff, praise I kind of already have, right? But back to surface level. If we're gonna make sure that we're doing what Yah wants us to do and doing things correctly, we have to be ready to not just live on the surface. We have to be ready to be willing to go deep. As I said before, right? Give me a second so we can get Facebook set up here. Praise Yah. Uh-oh. Sorry, y'all. Thought I had my stuff together, not as together as I thought it was. Okay, here we go. So there are many people who do a lot of stuff on the surface, right? And today we're talking about surface level. And remember, when we talk about surface level, we're talking about the fact that many people can fish and never know how to swim. Many people can do a lot of stuff on the water and never go deep. Many people will talk a lot about some. Matter of fact, many people have seen many television shows about being in the deep, but have never gone into the deep. How you doing, TMT? Right? And so there are a lot of people who are talking talks that they've never walked. There are a lot of people that are ready to tell you why you should be this or be that and have never walked it themselves. A lot of people are not intimate. A lot of people are aware of things, but never intimate. The word knowledge, to know something, means to be intimate. This is why the word says that when two people come together, they would know each other. To know each other is talking about that they would what? That they would be intimate, that they would be intimate, and watch this, with a purpose. What is the purpose of the intimacy? The purpose of the intimacy is so that they would have a child. They're not just being intimate just to say, look, I'm intimate. They're being intimate with a purpose. What's the purpose? There should be some fruit. And that in itself is a whole word for many people, because a lot of us in today would look at you crazy and say, how dare you even try your best to tell me that I should be intimate with the purpose of producing fruit? How dare you? See, because we're so surface level that you're thinking, and when I say if the shoe fits, wear it. If it doesn't, take it off. This might not be a word for everybody or something that everybody needs to be guarded about. But let's just be honest. If it's not us personally, we at least know somebody, right? Can we be honest? Can we be real before we get so offended? We at least know of somebody who's out here being intimate with these streets, and their goal in being intimate is to ensure that they are simply having fun on the surface. And thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Their goal is not to become better people. Their goal is not to have a relationship with somebody who's worthy of them even considering whether or not they should be intimate with somebody else. Their goal is simply to be able to do whatever they feel like doing. Oh, thanks for coming back, MIT Tracy. Amen. Right. So these are things where you have a lot of people who do things on the surface. They don't think about what is going to happen if it goes deeper. What happens if that person who doesn't care about Yah but makes me feel good? What happens when I get a deeper relationship with that person? People don't even think about that. Why? Because you've been taught to date. You've been taught to have a surface level conversation and then later on try to figure out a deeper intent. Mm-hmm. Come on. Come on. You know I'm right about it. I'm not saying that that's where everybody's heart is now, but let's keep it a buck. The world has that your church is heavy. That's what they call it. They call it youth ministry or singles ministry. But singles ministry is dating ministry. And singles ministry is teaching you how to deal with some surface level stuff about somebody, right? And you do some surface level stuff just to be able to, at some point, to maybe start thinking about in depth about somebody else. You don't have to say amen. I know I'm right about it. I know I'm right about it. Right? I used to think that was something that was appropriate because that's what they taught us. I wasn't even raised in church. But when I started going to church, that's what they started telling us. You need to be part of this. And are you married? And are you single? And blah, blah. Well, why don't you go over here? And this is that. And blah, blah. And I'm listening to all this stuff and not realizing that they're teaching us stuff that doesn't even, the inside hookup ministry. See, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck. Because nowhere in your Bible does it even mention dating. But everybody's got books on dating. It's because they're surface level. And when you start going in depth and saying, well, how do we make sure we're married to Yah and qualify as his wife so that we can even know what it is to either find a wife or be found by a husband before we start talking about marriage, because sex is marriage and marriage is sex. That's what the word says. But what's surface level stuff is saying something completely different, isn't it? Oh, come on, you, we might as well be real today, right? These false doctrines. Let's keep it a buck, right? Surface level stuff will have somebody not taking into account that, wait a minute, there's some real in-depth issues going on when people are running for president, people running for governor, people running for mayor, people running for city council, people running for judge, etc. When they're showing up to church services and they're getting time allotted, whether they get the sermon time or they get 20 to 30 minutes after, to be able to try to get us who are in the kingdom to vote for them that are in the world. You say, yeah, maybe that dating teaching is what people treating like a friend with benefits, because that's what a lot of people do. Right? I'm not really trying to have a relationship with you, but when I'm in trouble, if you love me, right, I'll be intimate with you. I'll do some praise and worship. And once we do a little bit of praise and worship and I throw my hands up and I have an orgasmic experience. Thank you. Oh, thank you. And I do all that. Then because I feel like you busted a spirit. Can I be honest with y'all? Let's just be real. Because I feel like I busted some kind of spiritual nut, or Yah has, and I've gotten mine too, then somehow, some way, Yah's gonna go ahead and say, okay, go fix me a sandwich, and I'll make sure I put some blessings in your account. Ooh, I know. I apologize if that's too much. I apologize for I apologize, but I'm just keeping. But some of you need to hear it like that, because that's how you treat them. Because nobody ever told you that you're his wife. They told you, but they never showed you. And so now you're sitting up there thinking that you're supposed to do that, but you do that with everybody. You get into your relationship with your friends, and your friends and you make each other feel great. And then you feel like you've made them feel great enough that your friends should give you whatever you're seeking. And now here you are trying to treat the Most High like what you treat your friend, but your little friend ain't the same as your husband. And here you are doing the same thing with your parent, the same thing with your child, and giving them just enough and feeling like, okay, now that I've given them enough and made them feel great and they made me feel great and I reminded them of how great it is, and in between these sheets and these little stuff, we ain't really talking to each other. I'm not really going to honor my parents. I'm not really going to make sure my child is being sown into, but I'll give them, some nostalgic stuff and remind them of all the stuff we used to do. And then out of that, somebody will take care of me. And then after that, I won't see you until the next time. Because we live on the surface. We don't go into the depth. How many of us would be so much more different in life if we actually live by laws? How you doing, Nicole? People don't want to talk about this stuff. What if we live by laws? I see you, Black Steel. Yeah. What if we live by laws? Laws don't give rights. Laws protect rights. What if we had a law in our community that went like this? If you lay down with her, you must take care of her. Now, see, y'all do this. See, the world has it reversed. Lay down with her. Actually, it doesn't even do it in reverse. It just cuts off half. Lay down with her. Lay down with him. Don't slut shame. He ain't nothing but a PIMP. Ain't nothing wrong with that. He's single. He being honest about it, even though they not really. But he being honest about it. She being honest. Today's discussion is surface level. See, because once again, people can go fishing. You can get a lot of food on the surface. You can get a lot of food on the surface. You can get a lot of food on the surface. Now, a lot of people get food on the surface, but a lot of people don't know what it is to be in the deep. What if we had, once again, a law? Now people get upset. Oh, a law. No. Laws don't give rights. Law protect rights. By the way, if you want to disobey a law or not be obedient to a law, you can go ahead and go outside somewhere else. But what if we had a law that simply said, if you're going to lay with her, if you're going to lay down with her, you got to take care of her. Because that's what the law is supposed to be. It protects you from getting into a relationship with somebody to where you like, well, she crazy. I didn't want to have no relationship with her. I just wanted to lay down with her. Well, you messed up then. Why would you lay down with somebody and then call that person crazy? See, they've been manipulated so much that, yeah, maybe they do come across crazy because they've been raised in a situation where men are supposed to lay down with them, but are not supposed to take care of the ones they lay down with. The person, now, am I saying that the person should be let go scot-free? No, this is why it's not a surface level conversation, right? She should know on the opposite end that, hey, you don't just let nobody inside of you if they don't care about developing what's on the inside. Oh my greatness. Holy Spirit, she just said something right there. Look, how you doing, Mrs. Biscuits? If he doesn't get to be inside and deposit a seed in your garden, if he's never going to tend to the seed, if he's never going to tend to the garden that's going to grow the seed, then he shouldn't ever lay down with you. Right? If he should never lay down with you if he's not going to take care of the seed that's deposited. See, but now you don't even think about that, because what do? We go, oh, well, I wear my diaphragm, I wear my condom, I've got my morning after pill. Forgive me, I don't even know what all this stuff is. I keep up with the best as I can, but it's not in my culture to even need those things. So I don't even know how all of them work. I have to study them, but we don't even think about the fact that now statistics show very clearly you should be leaving these birth control pills alone, especially if you're teenage girls and they say they start for health reasons. They start the teenage girls off with that. That's not true. Be celibate. One of the best things health wise you can do. They try to talk you into stuff. Well, if you don't lose, if you don't use it, you lose it. See, science shows that it begins to waste away. What science? Is there any sister right now that's celibate and you just lost your vagina fell off one day? I'm sorry, but not sorry. I'm just saying, like, who are we listening to? If you don't use it, you lose it. I'm just saying, they say stuff and we don't check them and at least say this doesn't even make sense. Right? Who are these people who are saying if you use it, you lose it? The best way, they even tell you the truth, kind of, sort of. This is all they say when they teach in sex ed class. This is what they hit you with. You ready? They start off by saying, if you don't want to get an unwanted pregnancy or an STD, the best way to do so is by being celibate. Then they say, and then the rest of the class for 2 weeks, or however long it is we just going to keep teaching you and showing you, literally showing pornography, showing you how to have sex. And here's your person in junior high, high school, and nowadays even they don't show the videos. At least I don't think. Stuff changes all the time. I don't think they show the video, but they started having sex ed class with the preschooler. And you're so busy trying to conform to the world, not realizing that your child will never transform out of the world, out of the beast, out of the system, if they don't start learning some stuff and we take over our education. Stop asking everybody else to educate your child. It's not their responsibility. They're here to mess your child up. That's what they're here for. How you doing, Wanda Katish? Ikadash, excuse me. I'm just saying, right? But we're listening to some foolishness because it's surface level. And we've learned how to live on the surface for so long. How do you look for unsearchable riches? You have to look in the places people don't search. Is there a such thing as unsearchable knowledge? No, there's just places people do not search. You'd be surprised that people don't search for their children within their own community. They're so busy searching outside of it. How you doing, brother TJ? Right? This is Cherokee land. This is Anakitawaya land. Right? And in Anakitawaya land, right? In Anakitawaya land, what happens is that there's certain things that are here presentable no matter what. When I was kayaking, it was beautiful because guess what? One of the first things that started happening to me spiritually while I was out there. One of the first things that started happening is I started looking at the side. You know how it looks in movies? This is why you got to get back to your nature. I've seen it in movies before until I started doing this stuff, years ago, but I'd seen it in movies growing up. And I know my people are out here. I know my people who are in these places. I know people who have, the ability to go on these things and go in canoe and kayak, and some people taking boats out, as you can see in the background, and all that stuff like that. I know that people can do this out here, right? But when you come out here and you do it yourself as a reminder, you start looking around and you start saying, man, my people would have done this. It's a different mindset. My people would have been out here. And you start thinking about scenes that you saw in those other movies, and you say, wait a minute, like this is something like out of a movie. And then you say, wait a minute, this is like something that's out of reality. And you stop separating yourself from yourself and you start looking inward. And you start saying to yourself, well, wait a minute, is this a DNA memory I'm having right now? Because I swear I know in reality this isn't moving like this, but I swear I see this and this and this. You start coming through some certain things that weren't there because now you're having a deeper conversation. See, before it's a surface level thing. So, on the surface, your people were out here, but when you're out here and you talk to your people and then you go and you move, and then when you're with your own child and with your own wife and you guys are going through this, you say, oh, this is different. This hits different. How you doing, Prince? Yes, Sister Monica, you feel it, right? Like it's like this hits different today than it's hit before in the past, right? When I go to different places, I like to go to places to where our people would have been, because when I get to sit there and see the Trail of Tears is one thing when you read in the book. Now, I haven't made the whole trip. At some point, I'm probably going to do it by bicycle. I don't know if I'm going to walk it, but there are people who will walk or travel by car, even ride a bike over the Trail of Tears. And but I've stopped at places on the Trail of Tears. And when you stop in those places, it hits different. See, a surface level conversation or teaching is one thing. How you doing, R1 Game? Thanks for being on. A surface level conversation is one thing. But when you go in depth, it's something else. I wanted to talk about this yesterday, but I needed to make sure I took some time off. I was going to try and even get up early, but I still need to make sure I took some time off and make sure I was resting, because we've been traveling a lot. Praise God, for great reason, but we were traveling a lot. However, I started thinking to myself and saying to myself, like, I wonder if this is why people's worship. And and we probably still will do like on Patreon, do like a worship thing or something and do some stuff with it. But I started thinking to myself, like, worship. Maybe this is why people's worship is messed up. Right? Maybe this is why people worship is messed up, because a lot of worship is surface level. A lot of people's worship is surface level. I'm sorry, somebody said something about the Trail of Tears. What was it? Sorry. Oh, located? I mean, depends on where your tribe had to march from. So it depends on where you want to go. I mean, you're basically dealing with a bunch of people headed towards Oklahoma for the most part. There are also other things called the Trail of Tears, but I'm talking specifically about, group of people that would have went Georgia-ish up to Oklahoma, as both native and even native slave owners, and some that were African slaves who had to walk the Trail of Tears as well. I'm actually mixed with Cherokee, or what people would call, it's really Anakitwa, what people would call Cherokee. And I'm mixed with them who were actually slave owners on my father's side. It's mixed with slave owners who were Cherokee, who were trying to get in with the Confederates and do what the Confederates did, and also Africans who were slaves to the Cherokee. So it's a lot of in-depth stuff in there, right? But all that being said, trying to get us to see that there's got to be some more depth to it. A lot of people are just doing this stuff on the surface, and you're not in depth. So your worship experience a lot of times is not what it's supposed to be. Can we keep it a buck? some of your worship experience is not what it is because it's very surface level. See, worship gets really deep because worship has to happen in a place you can't control. Right? This is really, see, this is, many people worship what they can control, which means that you don't worship. Uh-oh. About worship, we'll talk about it later. But I just want to give you a heads up because maybe some of you won't be part of the Patreon, or if I'm able to put it on something else and that you can see the recording, you won't see when it's public or whatever. But hear what I'm saying? A lot of people worship what they control, and only will worship when they feel like they're in control, or will only worship if they feel like it's going to get them control. Amen, MIT Jenny. I'll be waiting. Except Pope Constantine in 321 days, 21 or 321, sorry, told folks to rest on Sunday, Saturdays, except, okay. Sunday is the first day of the week is not biblical at all. Sure, matter of fact, the way that weeks work as far as Israelites are concerned, if we're going to talk about the culture, is that, and we do the same thing. That's why we have Shabbat on Saturdays, because we know a lot of people have to live in captivity. And at the same time, we also go off our calendar. Shabbat Shalom for us was something, when we said Shabbat Shalom, we also said it on Tuesday, because we know that Tuesday, according to what the biblical standard is, would have been the first day of the week. I'm sorry, or the last day of the week, meaning that Wednesday, right, when we're talking about from the evening to the rising. So yeah, if you're coming on here to make sure that we're aware of that, we're with you. Thank you so much for the reminder, right? So hear what I'm saying. And how you doing, Sister Valerie? How you doing, Sister Michelle? Hear what I'm saying, that there are a lot of people who are busy worshiping on the surface. Because worship has to be given to somebody who you cannot control. Oh, that's going to hurt some feelings. It's going to mess with somebody's theology. See, but if Yah is in control, if Yah is in control, I hear you. I feel you, Holy Spirit. I hope I'm going to say it the way that you want me to say it. Praise Yah. I'm going to let you take control. If Yah is in control, if Yah is in control, then your worship doesn't happen when you're in control. That's why I say something that messes with people when we talk about self-control. Self-control was written in after the original word, or at least the original word in Middle English, was not self-control. It was called temperance. Temperance is meaning that the temperature has to be right. There is something that your body does no matter what. We talked about this. If it's 70 degrees outside and I put a thermometer in your mouth, your temperature will be 98.6. If that's, we know that people can have slight variations, but that's what people tell us the averages. So if it's 70 degrees outside, my temperature will still be 98.6. If it's 98.6 outside, my temperature will still be 98.6. If it's 120 degrees outside, right? Obviously, we can't stay in that forever, but I'm just saying, if I walk out and it's 120 degrees outside, somebody puts a thermometer in my mouth, that's still 98.6. Regardless of what I'm doing or trying to do, or whether I'm thinking 98.6, 98.6, 98.6, I don't have to do that, right? Things have been already created to where no matter what situation I'm in, it's going to be 98.6. Yet for some reason, you think that when you show up for worship, that worship begins when somebody plays an E flat. How you doing, Ronica? Thanks for being part of the community. And thank you, everybody, for the like, shares, everything. If you're joining us on YouTube, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification tab. If you're on Facebook, thank you so much for being on with us. Please share. If you're somebody who watches the podcast, thank you for being on with us, or listens to the podcast. If you're somebody on TikTok with us, we appreciate you. Feel free to join us. We're on every rising at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time, every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern New York time, except for Wednesdays, which is my day off. And we have tons of other people that teach and do other things, as well as many different things we do outside of live sessions. Praise y'all. Right. How you doing, Brother Allen? Stay safe out there on the roads. How you doing? Is it Vanny? Thanks for being on. But see, people keep trying to worship, and you think you can control worship. My worship started. Matter of fact, can I be honest? If it's true worship, It has no beginning and it has no end. Mm. Praise doesn't start or begin. True praise has no beginning. Yehoshua said like this. He said, they honor me with their lips, or they praise me with their lips. They honor me with their mouths, but their hearts are far from me. Worship is in my heart. Praise is in my heart. It comes out of the abundance of the heart that the mouth speak. I can't even go into glory and glory. Hallelujah. Yeah, since I laid. Like people can say it with their mouth, but y'all's not even looking at your mouth, because if you're thinking that when you started singing, you started worshiping, you've already lost him. The truth is not in you. But see, people are on the surface, and you can fish really well. You can watch this, you can feel really nice after a Sunday service. Can you not? You can feel excited. You can get goosebumps from a preacher who's cheating on his wife, and the one he's cheating with is impregnated on the first row. You can get a word that will bless you from somebody that really you probably don't want to be attached to their spirit. You got to be careful that just because you're going through the motions, it doesn't mean that it's actually helping your emotions. Matter, right? Like that's what motion is. Motion technically is just emotion anyways. Emotion is just saying, this is how my synapses are firing. If I put my hands in the air long enough and I'm in the sun, then my body reacts a certain way. That's what we're dealing with emotion. That's why they tell you when you come in. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but hear what I'm saying. That's why when you come in, what do? They get you in a posture of worship. What's the posture of worship? Come in here and bow down. Put your hands up. Open your mouths and praise him. And I'm not saying we should not do these things in a family fashion. Some of you would call it a corporate fashion, but I don't believe that I don't believe that those who are in the kingdom are part of a corporation. So I don't worry about the corporate fashion, right? But either way, if you come together, you should do certain things together as a group, as a family, as a unit. But do not forget that worship started in the heart. Praise is not just a fast song, it's in the heart. Worship is not just a slow song, it's in the heart. I know that's what most people think praise and worship is, because when I'm invited to play or when I'm invited to lead praise and worship, guess what people say? All right, we need 2 praise songs and 1 worship song. They mean give us something fast and then end with something slow, because that's the tradition, even if it's not Yah's actual where he gets manifestation out of. You don't care about manifestation, you like tradition. Why do you like tradition? Because somebody told you and taught you that tradition was going to help you out, so you're going to praise and worship your way out of your situation. But see, you don't worship him in your financial dealings, so you can worship him out of your mouth all day and still go home broke and say, well, if Yah's real, and then eventually some of you leave the church, or you leave your assembly, or you leave your mosque, or you leave your temples, or you leave your teachings, or you leave your culture, and you start saying, well, I might as well go out in the world, because in the world, hey, if I'm a wild out and be broke, I might as well just wild out. Why I'm be faithful? Not realizing that Yah says, look, learn how to use the talents and learn how to invest and learn how to make sure that you have a community, that your dollar doesn't leave your community until it's been spent 30, 40, 50 times touching your own hands. And then watch my will. See, that's part of my will too. That's part of the praising me too. That's part of the worship of me as well. But for some reason, we don't have that that's not in our docket. That's not in our program. The program is to sing some songs, to have the piano play here, to take tithe and offering, to make sure that we have a prayer circle, to make sure that we get a word, maybe have or an invitation at the end, followed possibly by a baptism, maybe have a second service, maybe visit each other one more time during the week, and then somehow, some way, this is going to change everything. This is why I'm so thankful and glad we're getting so close now to this land being done. But I tell people, even when there, don't be excited just because we got the land. That's just the surface. We still got to grow food. We still have to start developing a way that everybody can live on there. We still have to extend, if we're going to extend electricity out there, if it's going to be solar energy. We still have to make sure that it's going to be safe for our women and children. We still have to make sure that the water that we use, that we're going to keep it clean, right? Like people get stuff on the surface. God gives you a blessing, and if you're not careful, you're not thinking in depth. You sit packing bags and bringing seeds. I'm just saying, even when the first people that come up there, I've told y'all already, when you come over there, you're not gonna be able to stay. But if you come over there, you want to come over there for a couple weeks and sit there and help us to start developing things. Hey, be ready. Be ready, because it's not going to be surface. We've got to redo stuff. We've got to till the land. There's a lot of grass in places that you might want to grow food. Yeah, you got to have vision. You got to see what the forecast is coming. I didn't come out here today. Like, do you know, before I come outside, I have to actually look at the weather, not just to see if it's raining. That's surface level. I'm glad when it's not raining, but I've also noticed, you guys have seen it before if I'm not careful, that I can still get caught to where the devices will overheat. So I have to make sure on a day like today, right? It's not raining. At the same time, though, it's cloudy. So since it's cloudy, I can be in a certain position where I don't have to necessarily be under a tree. Some of y'all are like, why is he always under a tree? I'm usually under a tree because I want to make sure that it's not overheating. I have to have more than just surface level. You're going to have to start thinking about more than just the surface. I wonder if Yah has given you something that you should have done a long time ago, and the only reason you haven't done it is all surface. You said you ready to put in that work, praise Yah. I wonder if you haven't moved on something, because every reason that you have not moved, if we were to look at it, it would be because there's nothing on the surface. I've been looking at this book. I try to read as many books as I can. I'm pretty busy, but I try to at least read excerpts of books if I can. I'm on this book right now. Brothers, we might even just kind of give you a heads up if you want to kind of, I know it's backwards on TikTok. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, y'all. If y'all kind of want to even look at this a little bit, I invite everybody to really look at this for real. But, brothers, we might bring this up a couple times at least in the future, just to talk about leadership. John C. Maxwell, written by him, the 21 indispensable qualities of a leader. Matter of fact, there was a book before this that you have to read as well, but we'll focus out of this one, right? But and just to show it on here, show it on Facebook. Facebook, I apologize, going to be backwards. It's the 21 indispensable qualities of a leader, right? But a lot of people don't realize that even people you don't like who are in charge of corporations, they don't focus on the surface. They don't focus on the surface. They still have to go through a lot of stuff. They still go to training. There are billionaires that still show up at people's training. You hear what I'm saying? There's still, thank you, Minister Tamara. Amen. For those who said they're going to read it, right? And we're looking forward to Brother Terrence. He gonna do something that's gonna blow your mind, brothers. I'm excited about that. I'm not gonna give up too much of the game though. Y'all got to come out and listen up to what our brothers got for you, right? But you got to be more than surface level. You said can be aggravating when others argue your point of view beyond the surface. Well, it can be. It can. Well, watch this. Like I said, many people, if somebody wants to argue what I'm talking about and they want to go deeper, I don't even think it should be an argument. I think we should just talk about what's deeper than the surface. But there's a lot of people who argue with me who have no level. Now, I'm not saying you. I'm saying in general, right? Because you asked the question. In general, there can be a lot of people who argue with you. And sometimes your arguments with people don't need to go that long, because you can tell that they're not able to go beneath the surface. How you doing, Jerome? Like, they're not willing to go. How you doing, Brother Allen? They can't go beneath the surface. How you doing, Jaira? Like, they cannot go beneath the surface. They can get fish, and they'll sit up there and say, see, I got this bass. Since I got this bass, this and that, or whatever. Do you not realize that? Do you know how it works down there? That they'll talk about they can get catfish, but do you not realize, like, you can't just treat getting the catfish on the surface like getting the catfish from underneath. See, a lot of people, what you do is just, if the shoe fits, wear it. If it doesn't, take it off. A lot of people, what you do is this: you lure people up. You use the lure. You use something that's enticing to what you're trying to catch, right? But if you're going to be in the depths, you got to be willing to live, or at least respect the things that live down there, and realize that they're when you're down there, you at least on an equal footing. Now, I don't believe in equality. Equality is a myth. No two people have ever been equal, but I'm just trying to get you to see. If you're going down, people go, how do those people pet sharks? How do they get them to do that? You got to respect the shark while you're down there. You got to respect where you are. Don't just be down there acting like you can act any kind of way. You're not even really designed to be in the water. See, watch this. See, once again, the whole worship, you're trying to worship what you can't control. That's what you're supposed to worship, what you cannot control, but you're trying to control the experience. Look, if I'm going into the depths, right? Yah is asking you to do something that is impossible for you to do on your own. How you doing, Travaris? I'm going in so many different ways. I'm trying to bring it back because we don't have as much time as we normally would. Praise Yah. Right? But prayerfully, by the time we end this, you're going to get this on a level that you've never really gotten it before. You ready? He's asking you to do something you cannot do on your own. Right? You can't go scuba diving without scuba gear. How you doing, Sister Nadine? You cannot. And if the baby girls are on, especially the one in particular, prayerfully, she's doing all right if she hears me. Look, how you doing, Tamaya? Shalom. You're being asked to go into the depths and do something somewhere where you're not able to do it. You have no gills, but you're being asked to go into the depths. You don't have the ability to not explode when you get to a certain depth. How you doing, Sister Kimberly? But Yah is saying, I've created something for you to protect you, called my law, called my will, called my ways, called my statute, called communing, called prayer, called petition. And I'm asking for you to use these things, not to stay on the surface, but to go deep. And what a lot of us do is we say, well, I'm not really trying to go deep. That's a lot of effort. I'm not really trying to learn to swim. I'm not really trying to learn this. I'm not really trying to learn that. But what I will do, I see, what was it, Justin? To trust in him regardless of view, even if you can't see what's going on. Yeah, because you can't see like other matter of fact, the dolphin does not see with its eyes only, right? It can click, right? It has radar, it has sonar that is able to use to be able to make sure that it knows what's coming up. See, and you're dealing with animals that are not thinking like you. That some of you talk about that sixth sense. Some of us don't even have enough sense to use our five senses very well. You're dealing with animals that smell without sometimes having nostrils, that see sometimes without having eyes, that literally have to have designs and color patterns, especially when you go extremely deep, where those color patterns help because certain color patterns are not seen by animals that live in that color pattern. And you're being asked to go into something that's unfamiliar. How are you going to make it in the ocean and you have nothing to breathe? Do you not know that if a whale, right? You know that when a whale goes down into the depths, the whale's lungs don't even stay the same size. You would think the whale's lungs are so big, and that's why it's able to go ahead and hold its breath, stuff like that. That's what I thought on a surface level or a child level. You do some research, though, as you get older, and you'll discover that as a whale goes deeper, what happens is the whale's lungs actually have to not just expel air, right, or get rid of air or hold its breath. The whale actually has its lungs get tighter and tighter and thinner the further down it goes. You and I don't have that. You and I try to go down a certain amount, our lungs will do the opposite, will bust, right? You can't handle it, right? You get down to a certain level, and people talk about, like in the Titanic, what happens to people, stuff like that, what happened to people and what happened to their bodies and all this stuff. Well, before the animals could even get to some of the people's bodies, their bodies were, even if they survived and went down, and even if they weren't too cold by the time they went down to a certain place, before their breath ran out on them, before the oxygen level ran out on them, they would have gotten to a certain level going down in that ship to where, sorry to be graphic and gruesome, right? But I'm just trying to tell you, see, Yah is asking you to go deeper, and you're not thinking about the fact that everything that he's requiring you to do is going to require something to be put on you. that causes you to not explode? Why do you feel like you got a headache dealing with these people? Why do you feel like your life is exploding all the time? Why do you feel like you can't get it? Because you don't have the proper gear on. In your mind, you think that, hey, everything that this is what people say. This is what the motivational speech is now. This is what people say. Do you, right? Do you do as thou wilt? And so you just so even people that want to go deep, they start trying to go in deep, and then you see them exploding. Come on, Andrew Tate, tell them about this for a little bit. Can you tell them the truth, Andrew Tate? Because all this stuff is exploding on you. You used to tell people it was they're trying to basically put you in jail, not because you're some martyr, but because you were a pimp, Andrew. That's real. Let's just keep it about. This is the reason why they're trying to put you in jail. They're trying to say that you were a pimp. You're trying to tell people that you were really nice, but your stuff is exploding because now that you try to act like you're going to go in depth with us to teach us about how to be men, we're looking at all your past, your past diatribes, in which you said literally you were teaching men how to make sure that they could pimp women out. How you would sleep with them to control them and things like that, and how you would beat them with belts, and how you would punch them in their faces and all this stuff. And we're seeing the text messages and all this stuff that you were telling them, and you were telling all these guys, and you literally made a living. You told everybody you made a living because you were a great fighter. And then didn't tell people underneath that you were giving out classes. Now, yeah, those receipts are coming. And now all of a sudden you're trying to say that the government's against you. And I'm not the first person to support the government. And do I believe that you've made possibly some changes in how you live your life and stuff? And so maybe all of that is not who you are today, but we're not going to act like that's not why they're coming after you just because you're some random person. See, you dove into something and dove in without what Yah wanted, and you mistreated his creation, and now there's a payment due, because for every choice there's an invoice. How you doing, Sister Kira? For every choice there's an invoice. Yeah, trying to be a nice pimp, right? And even try to change. I forget what he was. A pimp is something trying to motivate people or something like that. PIMP means something else. At the end of the day, a pimp is a pimp. Come on, sister Tisha. Can't go behind the veil in the temple without being prepared. Come on, right? And many people live on the surface. How you doing? How you doing, Pinky? How you doing, Gregorio? Many of us are on the surface talking about in-depth stuff. Many of us are on the surface and we don't have what's there. See, how you gonna get deeper into the fight and you have no helmet of salvation? Your head getting beat up, you getting beat upside your head and trying to figure out why you still dealing with this stuff. Right? How are you sitting up there talking about, I don't know what to say, and you don't have a sword, the sword of truth, and don't even know how to wield it or when to wield it? Might I say something to you? And this might be something to where y'all think that I'm kind of have cognitive dissonance, but I hope you hear it correctly, because I'm the first person that says you should ask questions. You should make sure that you have something to defend, what you believe in, etc. Here's the problem, though, is that I'm not expecting babes to wield swords like seasoned veterans of war. May I say that again? Because that was kind of wordy. I am not expecting babes to wield a sword as if they are a seasoned veteran of war. May I say that again? I'm not expecting babes to wield the sword the same way that seasoned veterans of war do. Now, what do I mean by that? There are some of you who have just gotten into this walk and keep telling me, well, I was talking to this guy, I was talking to this girl, and they told me this, and they told me that, and it's against this, and I can't really find anybody saying this, and could you give me this, and could you give me this, Pastor? And I appreciate your hunger, right? And I will feed, but guess what? There's certain things that I can't always feed babes either, and there's certain things I don't expect. I don't expect my 6-month-old in the kingdom to start defending the faith. I don't. And so what happens is some of y'all are talking to people and you're not making sure that they vetted. This is why we need spiritual fathers and spiritual mothers. This is why you need some spiritual big brothers and spiritual big sisters, and we need to have community to where we can vet each other. Some of you have no business talking to the people. And I know somebody says, oh, well, he's trying to do the same thing. No. Study. But I'm just trying to be honest with you. Some of you are struggling and are coming with question after question after question because you literally got in this walk on Tuesday and you acting like you're supposed to argue against the brother in the corner on Friday. Right? You're not ready for that. You're trying to go on somebody's live session. You just found out the truth, not even qualified by the culture to even be whatever you're going to call yourself: minister, pastor, preacher, priest, Levite, etc. How you doing, Miss Modesty? Miss Modesty, right? But you're ready, so you think, to go and talk to everybody about the word and to argue everybody down, go on everybody's live session, and then somebody says something and you're like, oh, well, I wasn't ready for that. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're better than I am. No, you just got into this, right? You have to be trained to go into the depth. You have to be trained to go into the depth, you know? And a lot of people don't have the training that's required. When a baby is born in the water. You know what? One of the worst things that you can do to what happens, but this is what happened to us, right? Because of the fall of man, fall of Adam, and there for the fall of man. What happened to us is very simple. If we just be honest about it, right? We were in the water. Amen, Minister. And next, Pastor Anita. We were in the water. You were born and raised in the water before you were born and raised in society out of the womb. Your first experience and everything was inside. Whether we're talking about the sperm or the egg, you were in fluid. You were encased in fluid, right? For you to move from one place to another, it had to be lubed up, right? Inside. Everything you did was in the water. Everything you did was in there, right? That's real. That's reality. You were in the water all day, every day. You were in the water. You got implanted in the garden, and inside the garden, you began to grow inside water, right? You got used to being in water so much that when the water broke, you followed the water out of the womb. Come on, right? Everything was about the water. You lived in the deep. You were created in the deep, so to speak. Even the word water deals with the spirit. There's connection from the water to the spirit. And even if you have water that's been messed around with, right? Because fruit that's fermented, it's called wine, right? It's alcohol. And fruit, though, has the best version of water you can get because it has H3O2 and not H2O. There's some people that do not even drink water anymore. They only eat fruit. Right? I'm not saying you have to go to that level. I'm just saying there's something about this water, especially when it's connected with certain minerals that are brought into the body. But that's why even if you have somebody that's only drinking fermented fruit, which therefore is fermented waters, we start talking about, we call alcohol spirits, right? When somebody has an alcohol problem, we say they're dealing with spirits. Why? Because you're dealing with water being messed up. How you doing, Olive Tov? Right. And so but you were raised in pure water with great minerals that were supposed to ensure your survival. And watch this. What happens to many people is that they forget how to swim. See, a lot of people say, I never learned how to swim. You knew how to swim. You know why? I'm not saying that you should do this, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Right. But a lot of people, well, actually, this part is fine. A lot of women now are having their babies born in water. Why? Because the water breaks, the baby looks for water and is attracted, comes out the water, still knows how to hold its breath and everything, because that's all it's done. And it comes out the water. But then here's something that a lot of people don't know. I was going, maybe you had this experience too. One of my first memories, I don't really remember much as a child, believe it or not, but I do remember being in water. And I think back then might have been the YWCA, maybe it was the YMCA. But I remember what the instructor looked like. I remember what the outside of the pool looked like. I remember my mother being there with me. I remember seeing other babies in the water, and they had us as newborn babies in the water. And they would let us under the water, and sometimes even let us go, and we would automatically begin to swim. I saw my cousin, right, who was years and years and years behind my sister and I. We were about probably 7, 8, something like that. And my baby cousin was probably about a year, 2 years. And we would actually end up, especially during the summer times, we would end up spending time with her like she was our own sister. And we would swim in the water. And as we would go through the waters, she would just watch and watch and watch. And one day she's watching and she decided that she was going to jump in. Never had a class, any of that, but she held her breath and she began to do a freestyle. My father, who couldn't swim, went in there, waded in that 3, 4 feet of water, pulled her out. But she came, and we were just shocked. Like, we should have stopped her, but we were just standing in shock, watching her swim towards us. You said, Vegan, you are on way to swim class now. Praise God, right? Right. But see, many people think you have to learn to swim when the reality is you have forgotten to swim, because people had their children. And what did you do? You thought you were protecting them. So what did you do? You took them out of the water. Oh, okay. That's MIT Jenny. Oh, okay. Cool. Amen. Right. So you took them out of the water, thinking that you were protecting them from what Yah had put them in the first place. And so now a lot of you get to a place to where you're like, man, I wish I knew how to swim. No, what you really wish is that you could come back into remembrance. It's been dismembered. See, it was in membership with you, your whole existence on the physical plane, that you'd be able to be in the water. Then you had it dismembered, you were cut off from it. And now you have to be remembered, brought back to the water, that you might be able to recognize how to do things. And now you're so busy. And this is always interesting. People go into all this stuff of, okay, I got to learn how to swim. And they start freaking out. Like we said, when people fight and stuff, they just start doing stuff. And it's like, first things first, can you hold your breath? Can you get comfortable with holding your breath? Right? Because before you needed to breathe, you always held your breath automatically, because your breathing you were not in control. When you got in the water, you were not in control of the oxygen intake. Your mother's body was taken over. So your source of oxygen was not you, it was your mother. So can you get back to being okay with not having to be in control of breathing? You see, hear what I'm saying? Right. Next thing up, can we get you to be all right with putting your face in the water? You used to have no problem being totally submerged because you had never been outside of the water. Now we have to get you used to being in the water from head to toe and holding your breath at the same time. Now somebody says, see, that's what I don't want to learn to teach from somebody like that. That's going to take forever. Yeah, it might, because you're a babe. I'm not going to throw you in. Look, I know there's some people that just throw children in the water, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not trying to have a thing to where we might lose some people. Sure, I could possibly just push somebody in and you might make it. And if you don't make it, maybe I could save you. But even if I try to save you, I might not get there in time. So if we're going to do this properly, first things first, let's at least see, because a lot of people can't even put their head in the water. And do you not know? Watch this. A lot of people, like when you say the water's cold, I do this a lot too. It takes me a while sometimes, but I've had to learn to just either force myself to walk in or just go somewhere where I can dive in or jump in the water and just do so as fast as possible. Because once your head, your body's designed that once your head goes under the water, your whole body. See, a lot of you, when you're saying the water's cold, the water's cold, the water's cold, your head hasn't gone in yet. A lot of y'all do like I do, and you be sitting there, oh, toe, okay, leg, and then slowly, and then it gets up to your waist, and the people are splashing, and you start doing this. You got to get over that, right? You got to get to a place where you just go, okay, all right, I'm gonna come in, and no matter what, I've got to get in, no matter how cold it is or it feels. Because once your head gets in the water, your whole body says we're gonna change the temperature. Your body is looking for your head to be in there first. See, you got leadership. Head goes in first. Go in the head first, right? You can have up to your chest and still be. You can have up to your shoulders and up to your neck and still not be fine. Till the top of your head gets under the water. Your body's gonna still say we're not supposed to be here, even if it's warm. Your body's still gonna be like, this isn't right. So we need to get you used to holding your breath, putting your whole body in. And then after that, we're not even going to work on stroke. Guess what we need to work on next? Can you float? Can you float? Can you get on your back or even on your front if you want to do it that way? But right, if you're not afraid, a lot of people only learn how to float on their back because you're still trying to keep your face out. But can you float now? Come on, Minister Tamara. I see you until the head submits to the environment, right? Everybody's got to be the whole body. But watch this. Can you float now? If you can do nothing else, can you float? Because if you can float, even if you try and learn the doggy paddle and you can't do that, bare minimum, the least you could do is if you start freaking out, you can say, hey, wait a minute, let me stop freaking out. Let me float real quick. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Right. Like, do you see what I'm saying? But so many people are on the surface that even if somebody teaching you how to deal with the water, how to deal with the spirit, you can't even deal with it because you're trying to do everything and you might not even be ready for that yet. Abba is trying to get you to stop trying to be in control of everything. You can't go deep without his control. You cannot go deep without his control. I know you want to. You will not go deep without his controls. And if you notice, all these things we're talking about with swimming, by the way, are still surface level. You see how much work we're trying to do just to see, and people don't catch this. We talk about this all the time. People don't believe us until we start having conversations outside. A lot of these live sessions, a whole lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are surface level. We're trying to get people to speak their own language. That's surface level. We're trying to get people to love themselves. That's surface level. We're trying to get people to remember what it is to be a husband and a wife. That's surface level. I'm sorry if that makes you intimidated or if that makes you frustrated, if that makes you say we're moving slow, but somebody been dealing with you. Y'all like to throw this number out here, so let's throw it out here. Somebody been doing this to you for 400 years. You a whole 40 years old and just finally came into the knowledge of truth 2 years ago. You think that you're ready to overcome all that today? You're with that husband or with that wife that's been dealing with generational trauma. Why'd you get with somebody thinking they were going to get rid of all that today? That's surface level thought. Just some people are not nearly as deep as they think they are. They believe they are deep and they're very surface. Yeah. See, surface level thought has us out here believing. Come on, y'all style. Surface level thought has us out here believing that because I married this person, they're going to change overnight. What are you doing? Don't get in a any kind of relationship, work relationship, whatever. How you doing, Cricket? Don't get, and I'm sorry, Digital Eyes as well. Thank you for being on. Don't get in a relationship with anybody and you're not really willing to realize that you have not even seen the depths. See, this is why we say stop dealing with all this dating stuff and the foolish stuff from the beginning. Start telling, and people say, well, I got to protect myself. I can't tell them everything. I'm not saying you got to tell them every single thing about you. But look, if you was SA when you were a young child, you're gonna need to make sure that person knows that, because there's stuff that y'all gonna be doing on the surface and they're gonna keep being like, that's weird, that's a weird tick, that's a weird response, that's an odd way that they say this, that's an odd way to respond to my love, that's an odd way to do, like, you're gonna see it anyways, and then eventually you're gonna say, oh, that makes sense. But you 15 years in now talking about, well, why did you never tell me? See, sometimes you won't even allow people in because you've been told not to even let people past the surface. Don't tell anybody that. No, you don't have to tell everybody this, but if I'm gonna be in a relationship with you till death do us part, we need to have a conversation up front. Look, hey babe, I've got lust issues. Your boy is a pastor. I don't even know exactly what that means yet because I'm supposed to be doing some stuff different, but I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I came out of some pornographic stuff and I'm better now, and I'm not gonna treat you like this and that or whatever, but some stuff might pop up and I need you to know in advance, because if you see me even leaning towards that way, I need you to make sure that you help to protect me from myself. Like, we got to have an upfront conversation from the beginning. Hey babe, look, I know you've heard this or blah blah about this or whatever. I promise you, like, this is the way I do stuff in my culture. I'm not worried about walking down the aisle. So I'm just letting you know, if we ever get to a point to where you feel like, because I feel like I found a wife, and if we ever get to a point to where you feel like you're ready to actually lay down with me, that we're going to start preparing ourselves, because when we lay down, that's when I consider myself to be your husband, and I'm not going anywhere from that point. I'm not going anywhere from that point. I'm not going to treat you like boyfriend and girlfriend and stuff. I'm okay doing some of that because I know some of this stuff is new to you, but I don't really date. I'm looking for a wife, and I found a wife. I want to be with you. And this is stuff that was set up front. How you doing, Apostle Jabril? Right? How you doing, Sister Shima? Like, this is stuff that was said from up front. I'm not somebody just telling you this stuff randomly. I'm telling you this was said up front. You can ask my wife. Like, if you're prepared to lay down with me, comprehend that we're not going to do a thing of, Okay, well, that's my boyfriend, that this, blah, blah, whatever. From that point on, you are my wife. I will treat you as such. That means also I'm your husband. Are you ready for that? See, a lot of y'all do the whole thing of I'm a date and date and date and date and date, and then maybe one day we'll start going into the depths. From the beginning, this is my intention. This is my mission. This is how I'd like to be able to protect you. What is your vision? What are your missions? What are your dreams? What are your goals? What are the things that you struggle with as well? Because I need to know if I can take that on. And let's start from the beginning with that in mind. How you doing, D? From the beginning, that is the mindset. From the beginning, that's what we both need to be healed from. Because if you need to be healed and delivered from it, then I need to be healed and delivered from it. That's a different mindset. But see, once again, many people are surface level. Many people can survive on the surface. You can eat great fish off of the surface. You can put traps in the deep and never even go deep yourself. And a lot of you are into trapping people. A lot of you are into luring people. A lot of you are into eating things out of the deep that you're not even supposed to be fishing for in the first place. And that cause more harm to your body when you eat it than nurturing to your body when you eat it. Right? There are a lot of things that are not in your dietary, that are not supposed to go in your diet because there's a dietary law against it, but you'll fish for it. See, a lot of people live on the surface very, very well. But when we start talking about depths, I'm trying to tell you, see, you got to realize, stop being concerned, right? We got to take our leave early. I told you today, I'm not going to be on as long as we normally get a chance to. So let me say it like this as we get ready to take our leave. You ready? Stop being concerned with people that don't want to listen to the word when there are people who don't even want to listen to your culture. See, and look, I get it, but hear what I'm saying. Don't take it personal. The attack on the word is really just an attack on the culture, because the word that you're living by attacks their culture, whether you want it to or not. Now, I'm not saying be brash, be abrasive, right? Make sure that you season your words with salt. But you got to, don't take it personal. When you're talking about the word of Yah, they had no problem when it was Jesus. But when you say Yahashua, that's a culture that pops up. They had no problem when you went to church, right? Go ahead. We separate that. But when you say, I'm not looking for an edifice, I'm trying to buy land to grow food. Now you're a cult. Now, a cult is just short for culture. So everybody's in a cult. But now they're trying to tell you you're in a cult. Why? Because I want to feed people. Yeah, see, it was okay when you just had people get happy. But see, if you want to feed people physically, you might want to actually start feeding them spiritually. Oh, my greatness. Come on, somebody. Come on. Hallelujah. That's a word, right? See, there are signs that there's a change coming in the dynamic, in you being dynamic now. The dynamics are shifting paradigms to where people are not just saying, I want to go in the edifice and I want to see a tav on the top, and therefore that should be enough. Now, people's lives are being changed. People are being made whole. People are honoring their mothers and fathers. People are showing love to their enemies while not having to be a doormat to their enemy. See, can I tell you something? This is in depth, and we got about a little less than 15 minutes left. You know why it's difficult for you to love your enemy? Can I just keep it a buck with you today? It's difficult for some of you to love your enemy. Right, watch this. It is difficult for some of you to love your enemy because of this and this alone. Because the enemy you're supposed to love is the enemy that you're always around. How you doing? How you doing, Jay Chris? Here, did you hear that? The enemy that you're supposed to love is the enemy you're supposed to be all the way around. But wait a minute, you say, well, if I got to love my wife and my children, I always got to be around them. But that's different. Not everybody's love is supposed to be the same. See, watch this. The enemy that you're supposed to love is also the enemy you're not around that often. That's the way it's supposed to work. See, I can love my enemy because I don't have a job with my enemy. So it's easier for me. This is why we got to get this culture together. We got to get us together real fast. We got to get this together quick, fast, in a hurry. See, I can love even the person that I will speak against and say you treat women like trash, how dare you, I can still show if they are in need of something, I can still make sure that they eat. You know why? Because I can feed you and still go back to my community to where we treat our women with respect. Hmm. Right? It's hard for you to love what you're still attached to every day. I'm sorry, it's hard for you to stop hating. It's hard for you to love your enemy because you're still attached to them so much. I've told you this before. The Bible didn't declare it like your enemy. It said love, right? But see, you're trying to love somebody who you're supposed to love at a distance, and now you're trying because you got to always be around them. Now, you're not only trying to love them, you're trying to figure out how to like them. Nobody said, watch this, you don't have to like me. I hope that you do. It's gonna be kind of difficult to be around me as much as we're gonna be around each other all the time, and you don't like me at all, right? But it doesn't command us to like our enemy. It says to love our enemy. That's an action. So, and there's actions I give to my enemy, but there's also times where I don't have to give those actions towards my enemy because I don't have to be around them. How you doing, Sierra? See, and that might be the thing that's really messing you up. Amen. You don't have to like your enemies. It didn't say like your enemy. It didn't say, watch this. Can I say some enemies? Y'all ain't even gonna like when I say some of these because some of you are Republican, Democrat, and all this foolishness, whatever. It didn't say you had to like Donald Trump. It said you have to love him. But somebody says, oh, well, I wouldn't do this and I wouldn't do that. You don't have to be around them. If he comes in your presence, though, the least you can say is, hello, how you doing? And shake his hand. Some of y'all would act like that'd be poison to you. That's human. That's humanity. That's basics. See, that's surface level. But some of us can't live on surface level, but you're trying to go into the depths. How can you say that you love Elohim, who you've never seen, but you hate your brother who you see every day? That's scripture. That's word. That's First John chapter 4, is it not? I can't stand Obama. If I ever saw Obama, I'd get on him and I'd yell at him because he never did anything for black people. Anybody, if I saw Obama and I saw him and he said, hey, how you doing, Pastor Kofi? I've heard some great things about you. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate you. I don't have to wash my hands or do any of this foolishness. See, y'all are in a position where you're not able to go into deep things because you're not dealing with surface level things, right? How you going to forgive somebody who cheated, and some of y'all haven't forgiven people who didn't show up to your birthday party? I'm just trying to help. I didn't say you have to stay with the person who cheated, but hear what I'm saying. Somebody didn't come to your birthday party and they hurt your feelings. And so now somebody cheat on you, but you ain't prepared even to forgive and move on. You can't move on if you don't forgive anyway. So you're not even prepared to forgive and move on from somebody who cheated because you can't even forgive the person that showed up to your birthday party. Right? You talking about going into the depths of forgiveness and you haven't even learned the surface level. Right? We're living very surface level. Like I said yesterday, we were out there kayaking, and I realized real quick, this is a place that I haven't kayaked before. And in this place, even though it was even more serene, and I've been in places where I've kayaked where found out there were sharks and stuff out there. But in this particular place, there's wildlife that I'm not necessarily as used to as I am in other places. And when we were out there, I had to pay attention to the stuff that was going on underneath in order to even do stuff on the surface. What I'm trying to tell you is that some of you are surviving on the surface, you're eating well off the surface, you're fishing well off the surface, you're luring things out of the depths. But I'm here to tell you, if you're really going to thrive on the surface, you're going to have to learn the depths anyways. But at some point, if you want to go deep, surface level is not for people that are in the deep. Well, we don't have enough time to go over forgiveness today, although we talk about forgiveness quite a bit. We probably have a whole live session recorded if you go on our YouTube channel just on forgiveness. Right. But I just want you to know a lot of people are stuck on the surface, never thinking about what's going to happen in depth. A lot of people are stuck on the surface. You're trying to go deeper. How are you going to go deeper with business and nobody ever taught you on the surface how to invest? How are you going to go deeper in prayer? And nobody ever taught you what Matthew chapter 6, verses 9 through 13 actually means. It didn't tell you how great it is to forgive because you got to read verses 14 and 15 too. How are you going to talk about the golden rule and you don't believe in law? Do unto others as you want done unto you. But if you don't believe in law, then that's not the golden rule because you only say half the golden rule because the golden rule is Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. Do unto others as you want done unto yourself. Why? For this is the law and the prophets. If you don't know the prophets and you don't know the law, then what you just said, do unto others as you want done unto yourself, does not even matter. Doesn't even matter. Sorry to tell you. You're trying to have some conversations that aren't even going to work. You're trying to be about some things that are not even going to work. You're trying to work some things, right? Some of you have a job mentality, and this is the last thing I got to say because we got to get on the road. Praise y'all. We'll see you this evening. Maybe we'll see you with some Patreon stuff in between there, but we got to get ready to go on the road, get to our next destination. And those who are in, by the way, those who are in North Carolina, like Richmond/Seven Cities area, and DMV, Baltimore area, we might try and do something real quick within these next couple of weeks. So just kind of be aware. We'll try to make sure that we're posting that stuff our on WhatsApp and everything, and trying to put that stuff out there. But I'm gonna say this: a lot of people have a job mentality. Jobs are not the same as work. Your job is where you toil. Your work is where you thrive. Okay, so a lot of you have a job mentality. So you toil, but you're not in your work. Okay, so you're used to toiling, is you're used to building up for everybody else and having somebody zap your energy and never having anything to put into your own diaspora, your own family, your own personal life, your own walk, your own belief system, the kingdom, etc. Right? Where do I work? I'm in my work right now. This is what I do. Right? I change lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. I do this by making sure I visit people in the diaspora, physically in the diaspora, virtually in the diaspora, spiritually in the diaspora as far as humanity. And I'm somebody who's into making sure that we're educated, that we feed ourselves correctly, working on finalizing this first piece of land that we plan on getting over years and years and years, and making sure that we are coming together as a family, making sure people need help with stuff. We can do things like that. So this is my work: life coaching, marital coaching, traveling to different places, etc. Right? What I'm called to do is my work. Some people have the luxury of having their work and their job be the same, but that wasn't something that was applied to me. And really, I was already told since I was a child that it wouldn't work. So I tried as an adult in many different types of work or jobs to try and make sure that I can say I was doing my work, and that's just not what I'm called to do. Praise God. And I'm glad that the Most High was able to show me the difference. But you're trying to bring job mentality or toil mentality to what's a work. Now, you might have to have a job while you're getting your work together because you've been born in captivity and you were shaped in iniquity. Now you're going through, instead of conforming, and you've conformed to that long enough, be ye transformed. You've conformed to that long enough, be ye transformed. You've conformed to that long enough, be ye transformed. You have conformed to that long enough, time to be transformative. Praise y'all. So prayerfully, this was a transformative word. Today we talked about surface level. We thank you. We appreciate you. We're going to do our shout out. It's not going to be with music because of time's sake, and also, in all honesty, where I'm at right now, I don't know if it would probably be very bothersome to other people if I started blasting some music. So I'll be respectful, but we will do a shout out. I'll explain to you how we'll do it. If you've never done with this on TikTok, it'll actually be different than our normal shout out that would normally be with music. Instead, what we'll do is we'll make sure that you can, well, we might do music. I think we'll be able to do it. Praise God. Amen. Because it'll be short anyways. So, we'll do our shout out in a little bit. I'm gonna just have to move to the other side of where I am now. But we praise y'all for everybody being on. Thank you so much. As a reminder, before we get ready to take our leave, um, thank you to everybody that was on for Thursday Rising Prayer. Thank you everybody for being on live tonight. I'll be on live later. Prayerfully, I'll be able to get something out on Patreon. I know Patreon members, this is not just a us thing, by the way. Apparently, this is a Patreon thing. I'm trying to make some calls now to see if they can focus on it to figure out if there's something that we need to fix on our end. Apparently, we haven't been getting notifications out to you guys, or Patreon hasn't been getting notifications out to you when I go on live or when something's posted. So please, man, please, sir, if you can, just check from time to time, or if I say, hey, we'll try to be on Patreon. One of the things right now, because of us traveling so much, scheduling, I can't really schedule Patreon right now, but just kind of tap in from time to time. We'll try to make that sure that's there, because also too, I am going to start trying to get up early, as some people ask, and we'll start recording some of those. It'll probably only be like 3 times a week guaranteed, but I'll try to start getting up early to do some other early rising sessions with you guys. I won't do it every day. I'm not going to overwork myself, but I think, if we do about 3 times a week, might be like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday-ish or something like that, or maybe Wednesday, Thursday, but probably like Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, but I'm not sure what days yet, but just giving you a heads up, and we'll make that like the beginning of the second tier stuff. We'll put some of it where you can see it if you're first tier as well, but some of the second tier stuff we were talking about, that'll be some of that that's starting up, okay? So we'll let you know about that, and even with some of that, from time to time, even if you're not on Patreon, if you ask from time to time, we can give you some recordings that you can look at or whatever, but those who are on Patreon, you'll be able to see all of them no matter what. But we thank you guys. I appreciate you. I have no more to add. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for this day. As a reminder, Saturday, as a lot of Saturdays are for us, going to be pretty busy. We're asking that you guys join us at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time for the live session, 10 a.m. Eastern New York time for Shabbat service on the Kofi Ofori podcast, 11 a.m. Eastern New York time for the children. Um, um, 12:30 p.m. Eastern New York time for everybody who's part of SOC. I think we even put something out online for you guys. So we put an email out so you guys would know that that's coming up. If you didn't get that, let us know, and we'll either add you to it or we'll just make sure that we send you the link so that you'll be prepared for it. So if you don't have it by Saturday, or even if you want to ask us for it today, we will make sure that we get it to you. And ministers in training. And ministers, be aware, ministers in training, we're going to make sure that they're lining up with you guys and walking through this with you. So we're going to ask that probably like two of you guys per minister will give you guys an assignment to kind of walk through things with them, where they're going through different things, so they can talk to you as well as talk to me simultaneously. But ministers in training, you'll have we'll have our meeting, our training on this Saturday at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time, and women's meeting will be this Saturday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. And then if you can support Minister Tamar right after that, or even brothers during the beginning of it, we can come and be a support to Minister Tamar at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. We would appreciate you doing that. Please keep checking your stuff. We've been doing better at updating things, updating the website, updating stuff on YouTube and the chat. Class information has been going out and stuff as well. We're going to start classes for the third quarter of the second semester of the year. That's going to start on the last Monday of August. That'll be August 28th. That'll be when we start the next quarter. So if you're interested in those classes, you can sign up. If you need information on those classes, let us know. September 29th through October the 6th is fast approaching. Thank you for your donations and everything that have been given. We everything's secure as far as us having the land or the spots that are going to be with each other. There's only one spot that'll be a little further away. And so volunteers of different things, or certain days that you're coming, we're going to make sure that we will probably ask some of the same questions we've already asked you, but we'll just to make sure and double check, so we can make sure everybody's getting picked up if necessary and all that, and people who will walk around and make sure that they're looking over things to make sure things are okay. So we have some security. It's going to be gated off and all that. We'll have where we're going to be. There's going to be electricity at each spot. We've got bathrooms, all the stuff together, so everything's straight. We're just asking that you come on. We know some of you are saying you don't know if you're going to come, but we talked to you already. So just let us know. And if you need help, there's basically right now we have a little bit of funds. When I say a little bit, we have a little bit of funds left. But if you need help with absorbing some of the costs, we ask that you just be honest, because somebody might really need it. But if you need help with some of that, let us know or whatever. But yeah, if you need help, don't worry about rental cars and all that stuff. We're going to be camping together and stuff like that. It won't be, camping just being out there. There will be electricity. Will be places if we have to get inside, we can get inside. And also we need to start making sure that everybody's prepared as far as if we need to get your tents on this end, or you're going to be bringing tents with you, or whatever the case might be. If you're going to be traveling by vehicle, if you're going to be at the airport, we got to pick you up so we can make sure we start timing everybody's stuff out in order. So whoever is going to be picking you guys up, especially the first couple of days, we know with school starting, a lot of you guys are probably coming for that first weekend. So if you're coming for the first weekend, no problem. We just need to make sure we get all that stuff put together. Okay. So let us know. But thank you. We appreciate you. We honor you. Pray for us and our safety as we get ready to head out. And okay. Well, never mind. We got some noise going on in the background. That's okay. So we will not do, like I said, our typical shout out, but we'll do a shout out real quick. And thank you guys for being on. So if you're on TikTok, if you want to come over to TikTok, we'll do the shout out real quick, and then I got to get ready to get on the road. So thank you again. We appreciate you. Please, or as always, continue to keep each other in prayer. Study this message. Don't just believe it because I said it or because it sounds nice. Make sure that it makes sense. And make sure you then start to use it so you're not just hearers, but you can be doers of the word as well. We appreciate you so very much. We honor you. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your love towards one another. Keep checking on each other, calling on each other. And please, we give all honor and praise to the Most High. We give all honor and praise to Him for my wife, the Honorable Mind, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. When we do the shout out, we'll have information that's going to pop up that you can see: phone numbers, emails, website, YouTube information, whatever the case might be that you want. Okay. So I thank you. I appreciate you. I honor you. Okay. All right. We might be able to do shout out with some music. We'll see. But thank you all for being on. We appreciate you. As always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor of Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until we have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, just that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, in you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace. To those of you who are still with us on TikTok, this is how the shout out works. I'm going to set it up real quick.